everybody. It's the Power Trip Morning Show. Here we are. You know, you could look at it and say, sure. That's a tough one. We didn't score any TDs. We had the ball in the red zone like 4 times and decided we didn't want 7 points. But you know what? The sun came up and we're 7-2. B-words.
Hell yeah.
That's right. That's why I said hell yeah. Aaron Jones, mystery. No idea if he was injured or not. I know that his chest hurt, but he was playing, then he was gone, then he was there, and then he took a little ride on a truck. We were confused. I'm still not sure what happened. Ben, do you have any information for me?
No, I don't have any injury information other than I just saw the same thing you guys did. I thought it was a hip. Same. Or, you and I were talking off air. To me, the way the hit looked, you guys have seen those boxers that take like a liver punch and they just crumble. According to the boxers and like UFC guys, like that is the most painful thing that you can endure in a fight is just an unexpected liver punch. And I thought that was like, okay, maybe that's what it is. Just he's just down. He's just gonna,
He's gonna pee a little blood, but he'll be all right.
Been there.
His internal organs might be a little messed up, but I thought he was gonna just kind of bounce back after being on the sidelines for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, he just gets put on a cart and gets carted right past me. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
He's going to the locker room?
Do you remember, Ben, right before that, you said, I got an update on Aaron Jones. He's going to be all right. He'll be right back on the field. And then to your right before we went to you on the air, we saw him going on a little truck ride.
I know. I know. It's like, I think a lot of people were just a little confused in the sideline because I just, I reached out to the person I'm supposed to reach out to, and I'm just like, any injury? I'm like, nope, all good. Next thing he's on a cart. Go in the locker room, like, all right. And then, then we find out that it's a chest injury, and then he'll be questionable, and then all of a sudden questionable turns in, he's back in the game.
He's back in the back. That was 33. Yeah. He's on the field.
I know, he's on the field. And
I didn't even see him come out the locker room.
And then his run at the very end of the game led to the personal foul, unnecessary roughness, and that's how we sealed the game. It was great.
Hi, Muss. Look at Mussman.
Oh, hey, what's going on, guys?
Hi, buddy boy. You're pretty.
Hey, Muss.
Hey, buddy.
Muss, did you see this stat? Did you go through this in the postgame? Chris just mentioned the Vikings did not score a touchdown, right?
Right, yeah. 4 field goals, yep.
Yep. The NFL on CBS tweeted this yesterday. The Vikings are the first team to win a game with 0 touchdowns and 3+ turnovers since 2006.
Jeez.
That doesn't seem possible, but teams had lost 195 straight games if you score 0 touchdowns and have 3 or more turnovers.
The worst part is really the last 2 games. Think about this. Excuse me. 6 turnovers from Sam Darnold. 6 turnovers. I mean, that's a trend. And I'm worried about that. Maybe mostly it's between his ears because he's had this before. He's had
his entire career except for the first 4 games of the year where it looked like we had tapped into what that potential, made him the 3rd pick in the draft.
Sauce, it's like golf.
Yeah, he has the
you're right early on. You don't think too much, right? You go out, you're first couple of rounds, you play pretty well then because you're not thinking at all. Yep. And then all of a sudden you think you know it. And then that's when everything just goes to hell.
It's the David Duval yips, right?
Yeah. Yep. And I don't know how you get past that.
Hello.
Because it's always lingering. It's always there no matter what KOC says to him. I don't know. I would like to say that it will turn, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I wish, I know everybody out there probably has your Monday morning quarterback answers, but I don't have that answer for you. I mean, that's when they go and assess like what the read was and where, if there's a commonality between these interceptions the last couple of weeks, and they're like, okay, we'll just work on this, or maybe we just don't design plays like this for a while until he gets over the proverbial yips. But they're still moving the football. It's
right. Yeah,
it's just a weird situation.
Red zone is the issue.
Yeah, and I don't know how you guys felt. There was something about it. I know it got a little tense at the end, but I never thought that we were losing the game.
I said that at halftime. Yeah, we're going to win this game.
Yeah.
But my goodness.
But it's interesting because at halftime, Hawk and I were talking, and Hawk said that he was talking to you about how Darnold in coverage is not as good as if you're bringing pressure to him.
Yeah.
So why would teams do anything other than what has happened the last couple of weeks?
I mean, some teams just don't want to change their stripes. They just, we're a little bit like that. Well, there are some situations and some instances where we don't blitz when maybe people expect us to blitz. And yes, there are some games where we show maybe a little bit more, but we drop in coverage. But by and large, if you're a blitzing team, you're a blitzing team. If you're that's the other thing that was a little perplexing is that we knew going into the game that Jacksonville was not a blitzing team. Right. Like they are a coverage-based team.
Yep.
And that they did exactly what we expected them to do. Now, maybe they rolled some different coverages, and maybe we saw some things that we weren't quite ready for. But by and large, you're going to have time to throw the football. They're a 3- and 4-man rush with a little bit of twist and a little bit of stunts. And yes, the occasional blitz on obvious money downs and third down situations. But overall, it's not like you're facing Brian Flores' defense. It's like the opposite of that.
Right.
So then how do we struggle so much with that down the field?
Here's a question for you, Ben. And you watch this way better than I do. But I know that the one pick was an actual slant with JJ. But we rarely, I mean, where has that come from where we don't do enough? Like your quarterback's struggling a little bit. You want to get the ball out of his hands as quickly as possible. And then I know JJ's not really a great slant guy because he's not after, the catch. Really, he's not that guy who has that kind of twitch or to just take off. But what happened to the slant pass where you could let's get it out of his hands quick and just get a rhythm going?
I don't know. I wish I had the answer.
Downfield. But
that again, that is sort of the MO of KOC.
Stripes, yeah.
It is some build up to some deeper shots.
Yeah.
And that seems to be what's in play with some of these interceptions. The one in the end zone that to me was not an interception.
No, it hit the ground.
It was not.
That was, if I recall the play right, that was a little bit more of a scramble situation. Yeah. A primary route and play broke down. So he's just going out there trying to make a play in the back of the end zone. So who knows where that ball was supposed to go and what they're facing. But again, it's the decision making of, I'm going to try to fit it in this really, really tight window, even though there's color there. And it's like, maybe you're just not that type of quarterback right now. You were at the beginning of the season, but now we got to don't take so many risks in those situations. And I mean, the one that I think that kind of burns me up the most was 2 games ago, when he tried to float the ball in the end zone to
double coverage. You're talking about?
Was it Hawkinson? Who was it to?
Yeah.
And he threw it right to the defender. I'm like, if you're going to throw that ball and float it over the top, well, then float it over the top.
Yeah.
I know that you're scrambling to your left, and I know the decision you're trying to make, it's just the execution was so poor. I'm like, get that ball high and away from everybody, and even if our guy has to jump to get it, that's the spot it's supposed to go to. Right. I don't even know what he was really thinking on that play. And again, that was another red zone interception. Those are the ones that just kill us.
Let me say this, Ben. Coach puts his money where his mouth is because he says, I'm going to stick with the guy. I believe in him. I'm going to keep having him do what he's doing and what he does. And he does. He doesn't back away from calling those. Even when he is essing the bed in the red zone, he's still calling the plays he wants to play. He's not changing. And I mean, I think in some ways that's a good way to get your quarterback through his slump, right?
Yeah, I think in some ways you can look at it two different ways. I mean, you can look at it from if not making some of these plays, let's make a quick adjustment on just my philosophy going forward, and just to get him back into the rhythm and build that confidence back up. Or you say, look, I've stood behind this guy this whole time. From the time that we signed him in the offseason, it has been, we believe in him. We've scouted him. We've been watching him. We know him. We know what makes him tick. We know how to get the best out of him. They have been beating that drum from the day that they signed him. So through all of his success early in the parts of, the first third of the season, why would you waver now?
Right.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna talk out of both sides of your mouth. And so I do agree that you have to keep this unwavering faith in him, because that confidence that they've talked about is the reason why he's out there slinging the ball the way he's slinging the ball, in good ways and bad ways. So I like the fact that they're not deviating from their faith and their confidence in him.
And we saw last night, Goff throws 5 picks. Goff's the starter, even if he'd thrown 7 or 8 picks, right?
Knucklehead.
But when you see what we saw yesterday, and he was asked about it after the game, where he thought, "Did you ever think about pulling out Darnold?" And he said, "No, because if you pulled Sam Darnold out of that game and you put in Mullins, then it creates this. Well, is he going? Sam Darnold doesn't have the clout that a Goff has, so that is why. But it'll be interesting to see if he gets off to another slow start next week. But Mullins is basically that's the white flag, right? It's over with that, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think that you can reach into the bullpen and grab Nick Mullins either during the game or and this would be silly, but to start him for the next game, because it's not like, you wouldn't do that either. But I think you're showing everybody else that we just don't have the faith that we say that we have.
Yeah.
And you're inviting all of this quarterback controversy and this drama on this club that you don't need to create that. So yeah, be steadfast in what you say and in what your belief is. And so I think I'm glad they didn't go with Mullins.
Well, you have 2 get-right games still ahead of you.
Yeah, but we thought that's what we had yesterday.
But yeah, okay. So
Jacksonville.
If any games that you are going to do this, these are the teams you do it against, because you can still win the games. Obviously, we've proved that. So now you still have 2 get-right games. Who knows? Maybe this thing actually turns the tide.
If you'd done this against like Philly or the Lions, you lose by 40.
Yeah.
But,
without a doubt.
Yeah, the defense played well. They got a lot of yards, but when the decision making came to the end zone, it just wasn't good. And yeah, you can't pull them because it creates a whole bit.
It got to the end there where it was like you knew we were just going to run the ball. I know you're running the clock down and everything like that, but you could just tell they're like, I don't know if we put this in Sam's hands. And,
well, when somebody,
except for the 3rd and 1, which was weird.
Yeah. When somebody's not feeling it, I'm sure that they had some second guessing about what the strategy is going to be. When you're like, all right, well, he's just not feeling it. So what are we going to do here? How are we going to bleed this clock out and win this game? But thankfully, defense steps up. There's no better way to finish a game with those guys. 3 consecutive series by getting a takeaway. Now, one of which was kind of a gifted takeaway. Fumbled snap. But just happens to bounce right to us, and we have to be opportunistic. But defense, you got to lean on what's hot, and the defense was hot.
Yeah, less than 150 yards. An NFL team, less than 150 yards total offense. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Mac Jones is terrible at football.
Oh,
here's what I did wrong.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Oh, Cassie.
What's the McCorkle bit? Is that his full name?
Well, didn't
people were saying that on the broadcast?
I thought it said that yesterday.
It's his middle name, yeah.
McCorkle?
McCorkle is his middle name.
How?
It's like, I can't remember what his first name is. I think it's like a Mike. He's like a Michael McCorkle Jones.
Yeah, that's right. It's something like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they went with Mac instead.
Yeah, he's Michael McCorkle Jones. Yeah. What a weird name.
McCorkle. It's got to be a family name.
No, not Gardsey.
But McCorkle Lambert.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. It's not too late. Let's do a quick piece of news, because it is sponsored, and we love our sponsors here. We need
do.
every single
Carbonis,
one
man.
of them.
Thank you, Carbonis, for bringing us the news.
Thanks, Carbonis.
Carbonis.
KFAN News with Chris Hockey.
Thank you. By Carbonis. You want a piece of
Yeah, that's the...
That's, wow.
Oh, we destroyed
That's
it
the jingle.
yesterday.
Yeah, that's the jingle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Carboni's so good.
You like it. Oh,
Each
geez.
and every week.
Wow,
right
I
here.
didn't know that was... I didn't know that's what they were going with.
Yeah, I wrote it.
It's very good.
Can you actually sing that, or are we going to get fined?
No, I wrote it so I can sing it.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. You want to hear the second verse?
Yeah.
Yep.
Tastes real good.
What?
Toy company Mattel is in hot water due to the packaging on some of their new dolls. The company recently began making dolls for the upcoming movie Wicked. And on the back of the box, they included a link to the movie's website, except Instead of wickedmovie.com, the packaging said wicked.com, which is an adult film webpage. Making note in my phone.
Is it Wizard of Oz themed?
Yeah. I'm sure some of them are.
It's
like
not.
monkey
That's what my friend told me, at least.
Monkey
It's not.
porn? Is that what it is there?
Sure. Mattel
Flying
released
monkeys.
a statement over the weekend apologizing for the error and said they're working to remedy the situation.
Okay.
How is that possible?
Yeah, I don't know how that.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's not like
Dora
Wicked.
got out of her box.
A little bit.
Okay.
What?
Okay. I'm melting.
I am floored that the Wild have wild.com. How did some adult site
that's a
not
great point.
get to that one first?
I think it's mnwild.com, right, Zacho?
No,
it's
wild.com.
Oh, that you had to put the MN.
Sorry about your stoma. What the hell?
I might sound better with a stoma.
What is stoma?
I feel better too.
There's a voice box that goes into that.
yeah.
I mean, the fact that the Wild have wild.com floors me a little bit, but the one that should absolutely not have been allowed because somebody should have got to it first is
Ta-da.
Dix.com.
Yeah.
It goes to DickSportingGoods.com, but in the commercials, it just goes, go online and buy your sporting goods at Dix.com. It's like, there's no way they were first.
Yes.
No way.
No. That's one of the original domain names.
You're heavy.
I know.
Yeah,
But if
paid
you're
a lot
buying-
to actually buy it out. Yeah.
Like if you're buying them in the 90s, you're definitely buying Dix.com.
Why?
Because
Wait, which 90s?
Dix is a funny word, and you want to own. There are people that did that, bought all when they realized that domains were going to be a thing. They just bought a bunch of domains and then waited on them to sell them.
Why would that be one of the first ones?
Well, because Dix is funny.
You said that.
Yeah, that's all.
What's the
That's
B?
all. I don't have a B.
That's
Just
a
you.
lie.
Why wouldn't you buy? Why wouldn't you buy
Cop.
corporations first, like McDonald's or I don't know, AT&T.com?
Yeah,
Why
but
would
don't you think because there were a lot of people who were probably ahead of the internet boom, thought, I'm going to buy McDonald's.com right now because then they're going to want it. And then you sell it to them for big money. I'm sure there was somebody who thought, you know what? There's going to be a guy named Dick that's going to open up a sporting goods store. So I'm buying Dick and Dix.com.
Button bar.
total.
Is that one available?
Relax. Yeah, what is
good
just.
thing.
Let me see here.
What is this? Yeah, what's this? Just the singular. Got a case of the Zacks going on.
Dixanddick.com still available.
More than 24 monkeys.
I just. Well, okay.
Go ahead.
I just got rerouted to the domainking.com. Watch this, Moss.
Buy that some bitch.
It's taking way too long.
So what is
Oh,
the
the site can't be reached.
So what is the official?
go to
is it
Dix.com.
Is it DickSportingGoods.com? Is that their actual website?
Yeah, but if you do Dix.com, it routes it to DickSportingGoods.com.
Yeah, right away.
So they have both.
Oh, they have both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you finding? What are you looking at?
It was just this guy who is the king of domain names. But now I can't go back to it.
Is that what Zacho means when he calls himself the DM down king?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
the domain name
Yeah.
king? Okay.
D King for short.
The king for sure.
More than 24 monkeys have been recovered in South Carolina after escaping a research facility.
They catch them all?
Not all of them.
Oh, man. How many
You
are
gotta
still
catch
out
them
there?
all, you know. One
Just out
monkey
in the
was found.
streets flinging poo.
Yeah,
Love it.
probably.
Yeah.
Found and recaptured on Saturday. Authorities caught another 24 on Sunday. A total of 43 made a break for it last week. Veterinarians have examined all of the recovered animals and found they were unharmed. Officials say most of the monkeys stayed near the research facility, and they now have their eyes on a sizable group in a nearby wooded area.
How great would it be if these monkeys just all recreated the bar scene from Gremlins when Phoebe Cates is slinging the Gremlins drinks? Like they find all 40 of these monkeys just throwing back beers, playing darts, having popcorn, swinging from fans.
Man, you love that movie.
Everybody does.
Yeah. It'd
be a sweet
Universally considered one of the greatest films of all time.
Do we know
Is
what
it really?
these monkeys are being researched for?
We don't, but they keep making sure people say there is no threat to the public. That's what they keep saying.
Sure about that?
That's what they're saying.
Just a bunch of horny monkeys, that's all.
Well, the company is called the Alpha Genesis Company, and that if that doesn't sound like an evil company
Yes.
from a
Oh, yeah.
movie, then I don't know
yeah.
what does.
Man, does Phil Collins work for them?
Yep.
Thanks, Zachy.
Yeah. It's his last noise he'll ever make.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd believe that. I'd basically just stay away from all monkeys in the area.
Yeah, man. Stay away from that monkey.
Are we sure the monkeys can dance?
I don't know what I would do if I saw one anyway.
Do you think the
Hopefully you wouldn't
monkeys
try to
right
spank
now...
it.
Dab it up.
Let me ask you a question. This is a sophisticated question. Do you think the monkeys are in too deep?
100%.
It's a Genesis.
A lame attempt at humor, swing and a miss.
Yeah, I didn't get that one.
No.
Sauce will do sports in a second. This is the Power Trip Morning Show on the Fan.
It's his DNA.
The Fan.
Join Corey Cove for Coors Light Hockey Night on Thursday, November 14th at Sunset Grill in Spring Lake Park. Watch Minnesota take on Montreal and play trivia for your chance to win a pair of sweet tickets to the game on January 9th against Colorado. Get all the details now at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Thank you, Max. So don't forget, it is Veterans Day today. Hundreds of national parks across the U.S. have free entry today to celebrate Veterans Day. National Park Service says the promotion is to help everybody remember U.S. veterans. And we're going to be doing our part a little bit later on in today's show. We'll have 3 veterans in that are good friends of mine. In the last segment of our show to say hello to them and talk to them a little bit about their service and what this day means to them. And then we'll go over to the podcast room and I'm going to interview all 3 of them, 2 Vietnam veterans, 1 Iraq war veteran, about their time in the service and their time at war. And going to podcast that a little bit later on today, again, and remember it's a Veterans Day, so I'm looking forward to having my friends in here and for you all getting a chance to meet them. You've already met Bruce, a few of you. He was in here a while back. But
yeah.
We'll have Samuel, we'll have John, and we'll have Bruce in here today. Looking forward to having them all part of the show. So that's happening later today. Do not forget, it is Veterans Day. And it is time now for sports.
It's time for Fan 5 on the Power Trip, presented by All Around Property Preservation.
Thanks all around.
Thank you. We'll start with this, Max. So the Wolves were 8.5-point favorites yesterday, and the Heat were without Jimmy Butler, and the Wolves still found a way to lose 95-94. It was an absolute turnover fest. Ant had 22. The Wolves are 6-4. They play back-to-back games against the Trailblazers starting tomorrow at 9 p.m.
Yeah, that Turnover Fest 2024 was at the Target Center last night. 20 turnovers for the Minnesota Timberwolves. It was just absolutely sloppy basketball. Anthony Edwards was 8 for 24 shooting, and he's been phenomenal with his shooting thus far. I mean, I think he has the third most threes through 8 games of any player ever in NBA history. But that's kind of the thing. You live by those threes, you die by those threes. And last night they kind of died by them, mixed in with the turnovers as well. Normally Nikola Jokic is a problem for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Last night it was Nikola Jovic, no Jimmy Butler. So Nikola Jovic was shining off the bench. He had something like 15 points, and then Tyler Hero kind of took it into his own hands with no Jimmy and took over the game. So really, not a good loss when you're playing against a pretty subpar Miami Heat team without their best player. But the Timberwolves, I mean, they had a lot of work over the last week. They played four or five games already over the last week. So they might have just been tired, but they got to find themselves a little bit more defensively. Offensively, they kind of have the idea of who they want to be, but defensively, they're still looking for their calling card.
Is Jimmy Butler ever going to play in Minnesota?
Butler?
Yeah, but.
Jimmy Butt Cheeks. Yeah, he's scared, man. He's never.
No,
it's a bit now. Like he has to be doing it on purpose. He never ever wants to play at the Target Center against the Timberwolves after talking all that mess for years about this Wolves squad. So maybe we'll see him eventually, but I'm guessing probably not because feels like years now.
Well, I think the last time he played was when the Heat played here the night before Thanksgiving 2 years ago.
Ridiculous.
Was the last time he played for the Heat when they played in Minnesota.
Did you guys see, and I don't know the names, but I think one of the names, the guy that ran into him, used to play for us maybe? Anyway, did you see that guy fall down and break his hip yesterday?
Chet Holmgren.
Yeah.
Oh, is that for 8 to 10 weeks?
Minimum 8 to 10
Broke
weeks.
his hip. He broke his hip?
Yeah.
Like his pelvic bone.
Yeah.
Oh, even worse.
And when he landed, you're like, oh, get up. And then he grabs himself, and you're like, oh, he ain't kidding around. And he really did. He fractured the sumbitch.
There's no thrusting for some time there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, fight through it.
There's ways around it.
Yeah, there's ways. I was going to say.
Percocets exist for a reason.
Well, he also has no padding, right? It's the all-time record in the NBA. He only weighs 96 pounds.
Right.
That's the lowest of any player that's ever made it this far. So, I mean, it makes sense. He's running into guys that are 6 times heavier than he is.
Out for like
That
3
math
months.
checks out.
Man, I've seen some lately this weekend. There have been some.
Don't talk about it.
I'm going to talk about it.
Don't talk about it, man. You made me look at it last night.
I know. I know. There was an injury to Chad Kelly, the quarterback in the Canadian Football League. That is gross.
Jim Kelly's nephew?
Yeah. So the video that I saw does not pick up on the actual hit. So you don't really know what happens. It's just him standing up, holding with both hands, like his lower leg, like he's just trying to figure out what is going on. He tries to take a step and realizes ain't nothing there. So he had snapped his lower leg in half, both bones.
Oh, God.
And then he just immediately goes down to the ground and his foot just kind of flops to the side. And
Through the skin kind of break?
well, you can't really tell because of socks and everything. But the linemen around him are watching this, and they're all just freaking out. Like, one guy, hits the ground, oh, my God! And he, so...
Keep going. Zach's close.
Yeah.
The hit is really bad.
Are you watching it again, Hawk?
I just saw the hit, yeah. And it's like
I'm not watching
two
that.
guys basically fall on top of his leg. And you can't necessarily see anything graphic, but just seeing the post video, you know how bad it is.
It's like when Teddy got hurt, we heard stories of guys were throwing up.
Oh, yeah, guys were just freaking out. Yeah.
Or when EJ, that femur.
That was really gross.
Oh, my
That was really gross.
Oh, that's brutal.
I can't unsee it. And Ben tricked me. He tricked me.
That sounds like Ben. Hey, Zacho?
Yes.
Hey, Zach, too. The Wild lost 2-1 to the brutal Black Hawks in OT last night. Matt Boldy scored the only goal for the Wild. The Wild lost 1 minute and 50 seconds in overtime, but the Wild are 10-2-3. They battle the Canadiens on Thursday.
Yeah, Peter Mrazek was the Tom Reed's catalyst of the game, by the way.
Who?
31 saves, putting
He plays
19
for the other team.
in the third period for the Chicago Brutal Blackhawks.
Wait, the catalyst of the game can be for the other team?
Yeah, it can be, man.
Sure. We ain't pulling no punches here.
It can be.
Wait, does he get a certificate to Tom Reed's restaurant then?
How can be?
All right, so
He
John
passed away with
Matuzak
Dumbo.
is the
Who,
catalyst
me?
of the game. He played Sloth in the Goonies.
The catalyst of the game is Beetlejuice from the Howard Stern Show.
Oh, man.
So good.
Who do you think would be better at being an NHL goaltender, Sloth or Beetlejuice?
Oh, Beetle.
Yeah, I think that maybe dude I can do
Yeah,
it.
Beetle be way better because he'd be so confident.
Beat, could you stop a slap shot?
Yeah, I slapped him and died. Gonna do it.
I slapped a couple shots before.
Yeah,
Beat. I'll give you $20
me?
if you can spell NHL. Go.
Who, me?
Yeah, you. How do you spell NHL,
Yeah, I
Beat?
do that. My most offensive impression.
Yet it's one of your better ones.
The best is when Howard will say to him, I'm really jealous of your athleticism. The Gophers lost 26-19 to Rutgers.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Former Gopher Ethan Kaliakmanis threw for 3 touchdowns. Brosmer threw for 1.
Gobblegoose.
Brosmer?
Isn't it Brosmer?
I thought you said Brosman. Go ahead.
Gobblegoo.
He
James
threw for
Bond?
1 touchdown. The Gophers' 4-game winning streak is snapped. They battle Penn State a week from Saturday at Huntington Bank Stadium.
Yikes.
Like Chad Kelly's leg.
Ben?
Yes.
Yesterday, we were talking about this off the air. The Patriots beat the Bears 19-3, and the Bears, Caleb Williams was sacked 9 times.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I didn't see the game, but I just I was looking at the box score and all that. And it has to be, if I'm going to connect the dots and kind of build the puzzle in my mind, it has to be not so much of just clean blitzes getting through. It's him holding on to the football, not knowing where to go. And that continues to be a problem for the quote unquote young phenom quarterback that just can't figure it out. And you and I were talking just off air. There are a lot of analysts out there that get paid to analyze these games. They're like, it's over for him.
Yeah.
Like, at least for this year. Like
Orlovsky called him broken on social media.
Look, man, when you're broken at this point in the season, wow. They might, now they're not going to bench him per se. They're going to probably have him just work through this, and they'll probably fire Eberflus, and they'll make other changes and just like try to get a refresh and kickstart this whole thing, build some momentum for next year. But if he's not showing any signs of figuring this out, I don't know, guys.
They've scored 12 points in 2 games.
Hey, GMs are paid millions of dollars. I don't, quote, feel bad for GMs. But can you imagine if you are a general manager in a year like this year in the NFL draft where it's like Caleb's the consensus number 1 pick, right? Can you imagine watching film and going, are we sure Jaden Daniels isn't better? No, I'm not saying it's easy in hindsight because he looks 10 times better than Caleb right now. I'm just saying pre-draft, if you go, are we all sure on Caleb? Because this kid looks just as dynamic, if not better. That's what you get paid for, is to say, I know everybody's telling us we have to draft Caleb Williams, but I think that's wrong. And if you're wrong, you're fired. Mm-hmm. If you're right, you're a genius, right? Or it's this case, you take the safe play and you're wrong, and then you might get fired as well. Being a GM is so tricky, man.
It's so tricky.
That's why they get paid a lot of money.
That's why they get paid a lot of money, and that's why they get a lot of credit when their teams win Super Bowls and they're championship building teams and all this other stuff, because you have to have this unwavering confidence in yourself and your staff that you're making the right decisions. And it's not like these guys don't. I'm sure that there were many probably arguments about who was the better quarterback and what decision they should make for the number 1 pick. Because a lot of these people, I mean, if you're building your staff the right way, I'm sure there's some very passionate people in there that's like, no, Jaden is the guy for these reasons. And they will have these long through the night conversations about you, like basically pitch your idea. It's like any other like pitch. Why do you think this guy? Let's hear it. Put together whatever slide deck you want, whatever film that you need to show, whatever all the people you've talked to, whatever it is, build your case. They talk about these things all the time. So you have to be confident making that pick. They're like, nope, this is our guy. And this is what our staff has settled on. And you just have to say, we're playing the long game. He may struggle, but we may have the last laugh here in the next 10 years.
One of the great all-time examples was the Mario Williams, Reggie Bush year, right? Where it was unanimous. Reggie Bush is the no-brainer. This is the easiest pick of all time. And then like a day or so before, it's like, they might take Mario Williams. Like, they can't do that. That's the most insane thing of all time. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And then it happened, and Mario Williams was basically a Hall of Fame talent. Reggie Bush is awesome, but that was not the wrong pick. But if Mario Williams is a disaster and Reggie Bush is exactly what we thought he was going to be, then it's the worst mistake in NFL draft history, right? It's the gamble. I freaking love that. And you got to trust your scouts, right? Like, if you don't have the right scouts, none of it matters.
Well, thank goodness the Vikings haven't been in that situation.
But all we heard in the offseason is how Caleb Williams is going into the best situation for a rookie quarterback ever. And they got guys running 70% routes because they're just tired of it.
And I get to choose them every week.
Yeah. I think you can take Caleb Williams next week.
How about, again, for the first time in the history of Zach playing the Charge Challenge, this is the first time ever at the end of a week, he is ahead of the ghost or ahead of the other people. So this is the first time he has ever finished a week where he is technically not unsafe.
Hell yeah.
That's insane.
Hell yeah.
Is that why you were screaming so much you lost your voice?
Almost impossible to be that bad for this long. But Zach is technically now ahead of Chris. Still not even close to out of the danger zone, but if it ended today, he would be safe.
Forgive me, what's the punishment?
We'll tell you in a sec.
Oh, okay, cool.
Vikings news, Power Trip Morning Show on the Fan.
The Fan.
Sorry, I'm just talking to our veterans who are just showing up. Getting ready for some fun for Veterans Day to talk to some true heroes. John and Bruce and Samuel will all be here. And we'll be posting that podcast a little bit later today. We'll do it right as soon as the show's over here, and we'll get it up by noon, I'm guessing. That right there is Ben Leber. That right there is Michael J. Mussman III. By the way, Greg Coleman says hi.
Yes.
And so does Heath Farwell.
I know.
Oh, Farwell's the best.
Yeah, we were texting back and forth last night.
Oh, must be nice.
Good man.
Well, have you hiked up a mountain with him?
I have not.
Okay,
nor have
well,
I
Ben
gotten,
has.
I haven't gotten bear sprayed by him either.
But
Just wear bear bells. You don't have to worry about bears.
Keith and I have drank bunnies out of beer once.
Yeah, they thought we worked at Miller Lite.
Yep.
You drank beer out of bunnies once, too, remember?
You were there, Hawk.
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah, remember?
What a mess.
Yeah, the guy asked us if we worked for Miller Lite because we drank so much of it.
Was I there?
Yeah, it was at Sherm's next to Bunny's.
Yeah, a great spot.
A couple of days before Christmas. You, me, Heath, and Hawk, or you, me,
Dean and Yumi?
Heath, and Muss win.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Muss drove me home because you left and we kept drinking.
That sounds like me. Anyway. Yeah, good guys.
Good times.
Good guys.
Good guys.
Good guys. We're going to do some Vikings news right now. Are you guys up for that?
It's time for Vikings
time to
news
answer,
on the
did you?
Power Trip, presented by
That's right. The Truck Accessory Pro Store. Let's go.
Ben, your new friend, Andrew Van Ginkel, seemed to be everywhere yesterday. Mm-hmm. But also the return of Blake Cashman. Break down to us non-football people how much of a difference Cashman specifically made just being back on the field.
Huge. I mean, I can't quantify it with like a number of like 1 through 10 or 1 through 100, but I can tell you that the feel of him being out there with as the green dot guy and not having it be Ivan Pace, the operation and everything just seemed smoother. Everything about it. I mean, I think
Ivan played better because of it.
That's a great point. Is that I think it's a better role suited for Blake, or I should say Cash, to be on the field for all 3 downs and commanding the defense, as opposed to what we've seen with IP out there, who is truly more of a first and second down run stuffing, blitzing, downhill type of player. His best attributes is not going backwards, where Cash can sort of do it all. He can be a first and second down run stopper and a blitzer. He can be a third down dropper. He can also, as we've seen time and time again, a third down blitzer. And he's phenomenal at running some of these blitzes. And, unfortunately, he had the inadvertent face mask on that one sack. He should have had 2 sacks yesterday on an awesome bull rush that actually seemed like it didn't even seem like he put a lot into the guy. He just somehow got underneath him and bull rushed the running back and could have had a sack number 2. But just there didn't seem to be a lot of confusion with personnel. The back end of the defense seemed like they were on point. And so I don't know. It's just like who knew that when we signed him, he was going to be the catalyst for this defense, but they trust him in that way. And it was awesome to have him back.
Undefeated when he's on the field so far this season.
Is that right?
It is.
It's all because of him.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we brought that up a couple weeks ago, but I was just like, man, it did make a big difference yesterday. And I mean, when, again, you're holding a team in the NFL to less than 150 total yards. Well, it doesn't matter if it's the Jags or whoever.
Yeah, and to continue to sort of just pump his tires here a little bit, we just brought up Heath Farwell, and I was talking to him before the game, and he's like, dude, he's like, that 51 that you guys have, he's like, he flies around. I'm like, oh yeah. And so we started talking. He's like, he absolutely shows up on tape. And like their coaching staff had talked about how well he's playing too. So it's being recognized not just by us, but by when they do the cross tape and they're doing the scouting and stuff like that. These other teams understand how good he is.
Yeah. Did he dominate like this at the University of Minnesota and most of us just didn't see it? Was he dominant or just good?
He had to work his way there because if I understand his story correctly, I mean, he was sort of an undersized linebacker. I mean, he was a safety more growing up in high school, and he was sort of a rover and had to kind of grow into his linebacker body. And then even when he got drafted, he dealt through a bunch of injuries. So he never really got a chance to like string together weeks upon weeks upon weeks of getting into a flow. And now that he's, he had that one super healthy year in Houston, that's kind of like what's catapulted him.
Yeah, what great scouting, though. I mean, you get Cash, and then you also have Gennard.
And Van Ginkel.
And Van Ginkel with all the money you would have spent on Daniil.
Man.
He was a one-time second-team All-Big Ten.
Yeah, well, which is great, but it's not, you're not all-American status out there and flying around making plays every single week where nationally they're recognizing him. So, yeah, just a great job by the whole defensive staff to locate these guys. I mean, obviously, Van Ginkel having the history with B-Flow down in Miami, but even that story is incredible. I mean, for Van Ginkel to go from small-town Iowa, University of South Dakota, Iowa Western Community College, Wisconsin, and then B-Flow's like, well, I don't care that you guys don't really know who this guy is. Like, he fits what I want to do defensively. And I love what he can be built into. And he did that in Miami, and he's like, I want that guy here when he's a free agent.
Ben, what were you and Harrison Smith talking about yesterday, kind of under your breath in the locker room?
Mm-hmm. That's private.
Oh.
No. No,
we're privates everywhere. We were in the locker room.
I know. Yeah, we got to find a different place to stand. We were standing really at the entrance of the shower, and we're like, I feel like a total meat peeker right now. I don't mean to be. And you and I were just joking about it. Like, this just happens to be the entrance to the locker room, and we were standing there as everybody was walking by with just their towels on. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I said to Harrison was just like. He's like, I didn't really do much today. I was like, hey, congratulations. He's like, I didn't really do much. He's like, I made a few defensive calls out there, ran around. He's like, everybody else just made plays in front of me. He's like, it's just one of those games sometimes as a safety where if everybody else around you is making plays and the plays don't even come to you, you feel like you don't really contribute. And he's like, he was just kind of laughing. He's like, I'm fine with it. We got the win. But he's like, I don't really feel like I did much. I'm like, well, your check is the same.
What was it, 43 plays they were out on the field, right? I think that's what it was.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it. 18 minutes of on-field play for the defense. I mean,
Vikings had the ball for 42
minutes.
Yeah. Cashman said he looked at Camus and just went, I don't even think I'm sweating.
Yeah.
Barely been on the field.
Yes, your hands up.
Is Cam Bynum the best player on this defense?
No. I wouldn't say he's the best.
Yes.
But he's really good.
Yeah.
Best celebrations.
Was
Sure.
brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, most celebrations are like, all right, that's creative or cute. That one actually made me laugh.
Yeah,
and
that
I
was
didn't
brilliant.
want to, but it was freaking funny. And the smirk on his face, I'm nailing
Especially
this.
when he hit like the last part of it.
It was so good.
It was so good.
Shout out to Cam. That was fantastic.
He's great. I love that guy.
Yeah,
he did the ray gun.
Yeah,
moves.
he seems to go viral every single celebration that he has because he talks about how much he puts into it. I mean, there's like a lot of thought, a lot of practice.
Yeah, did the Freaky Friday bit, right?
Yeah,
Hawk loves that film. Parent
Of course
Trap.
I do.
No, Parent Trap. Thank you. Not Freaky Friday. Parent Trap.
Both of them are top 5. Both of them, yes.
Yeah, no, he's creative, but that was next level. He had her moves down almost perfectly. Did them, 5 or 6 different moves?
Yeah.
That was outstanding.
And the fact it was the week that she officially retired, too.
She did,
I mean,
she's done competing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some would argue that happened this summer as well, but it's over for Reagan. But now with Cam, her legacy will live on.
Okay, since we're talking about that, can you guys, does anybody know the rule and the reason? I guess I know the rule because it got sort of explained to us. This momentum rule.
Oh, yeah.
That they tacked on to Bynum's interception.
It seemed the opposite.
It seems the exact opposite of what it should be.
Nobody around him. He wasn't touched. Knee down on the one. But he still rolled into the end zone, and then he was touched. I don't understand that one.
I don't get it either. He can't stop himself mid-dive from going into the end zone. So if he goes into the end zone because he's making a diving play and then gets touched down, it should be a touchback.
Yeah, one would think if it was going the other way. I mean, if you were going backwards, I guess I don't know. I don't know exactly.
I don't understand it. And they're like, his knee hit the ground at the one. Like, so what?
Right.
It's the NFL. It's not college.
Yeah.
Nobody touched him when his knee was down. So you can dive for the football and crawl your way to the end zone before you get touched down. Like, I don't understand this knee being down in the field of play. Who cares?
Well, and that's the other question I have for you, Ben. Like if he wasn't touched down, then he's free to roam about the country.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's one thing to it's one thing for a punt returner to be backpedaling, stop his feet, catch the ball, and then take a step back into the end zone. That you're voluntarily going back into the end zone. There's nothing voluntary about him diving to make that play and rolling into the end zone.
Right. So, and again, I don't know the answer to this question. I'm going to ask a question with a question. If he did this exact same play on the 20-yard line, right, where his knee hit the 20, and then he rolls into like the 16-yard range, and then he gets tackled, would the ball be at the 20 or the 16?
Should be at the 16.
Should be at the 16, yeah.
Feels like the 16 is the right answer, but they're saying that that's not the way that it goes. I'm with you. It doesn't seem right, but if that's the rule, that's the rule. But doesn't make a lot of sense. That should have seemed to be a touchback, but I guess the rule says otherwise.
But you realize how scary that could have been because we lived through that on the other side of it with Josh Allen in Buffalo, where it's like, oh, all you got to do is quarterback sneak it a few times to get out of the shadow of your own end zone, and then he fumbles a football and we recover. I mean, that's the difference in the football game. If we're in that situation and we push there and we fumble the football, game's over.
Yeah.
Because of some stupid momentum rule that doesn't make any sense.
Right, because really what they're saying is if he catches it at the 1 and then he gets, quote, tackled in the end zone, that's like a safety, right? More than a touchback, right? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Even that doesn't make sense.
Even that doesn't make sense.
Then anything that happens in the end zone is completely irrelevant. Well, then, like to Chris's point, what if he just takes off and runs before he gets touched? I don't know. Who knows?
I don't either. But again,
everybody seemed to be confused.
The worst part of yesterday's referee job, sorry, couldn't think of a better way to say it, is that they seemed as confused as anybody. They just seemed confused the entire game. And I know that there's an eagle eye watching them all the time these days, and I know they can feel that. So I think they're just hypersensitive to being just overly cautious. I don't know. They seem completely overly cautious.
I don't know if the answer is more officials because, well, I say that, and then, there's been 2 in the last 2 weeks face masks on the quarterbacks and rough play on the quarterbacks so that they miss when the sole responsibility of the referee is to watch just the quarterback when the ball snapped.
Yeah, and there were also shots of them actually looking at the quarterback.
Yeah,
and
so
still not calling it.
I don't know what the answer is, but
artificial intelligence. Let's get humans out of this. Right? No more human refs.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
Lamar Odom doesn't want humans anymore.
What?
I don't know what that means.
I saw that story.
Yes, you do.
That's so creepy.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
You're talking about sex dolls.
Yeah, he was with Lisa Ann.
Is it creepy or is it kind of like, oh, that's adorable?
Must.
I don't know how it's
You're on the air. Must, you're on the air.
Your wife is listening.
And Must do a 180 and ask that question to the guy behind you.
Hawk?
Yes.
Adorable or creepy?
Both.
Are those the only 2 words he has as an option?
Yes.
There's a lot of words that are not creepy that don't end on adorable. I don't know if any of that's adorable. Fan 5 in a second. More with Muss and Ben Leber after this.